Hello everybody and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So this video is actually kind of a special one because, well, I say it's special, but basically it's another final outcome of a university project. But I've decided that the best way to explain the premise of the project and brief that I did is through a visual presentation. And by the way, if you're my lecturer watching this video right now and currently marking my research file, then just skip to this timestamp here to go straight to the process. But if you're not my lecturer and you're not anyone marking my work right now at university, then keep watching the visual presentation. And one more second, just one more thing. So the visual presentation was actually, well, I call it a visual presentation, it wasn't exactly it was filmed yesterday, so that's why I'll look different and I don't look my best. Just keep that in mind. But without further ado, let's get into the visual presentation. So to summarise the brief, I had to create an editorial for a magazine and we had a selection to choose from, and I decided to go with Beauty Papers. And if you know the brand and the magazine Beauty Papers, then you would know that their main focus is on beauty and being quite provocative and non-conforming to society norms in beauty. So the first thing I need to do was figure out a concept, as that is pretty important. And I started by looking at makeup artists that have actually worked with Beauty Papers on their own editorials. And I discovered Lucy Bridge and Anna Takahashi. In particularly their work on silver and gold full body paint, and these looks instantly made me feel inspired but also compelled to create something similar. If you don't know, quite recently metallics have become quite a popular trend again in fashion, as we have seen metallic looks on red carpets everywhere recently. And also, if you do not know, I'm quite fond of metallics too. Maybe a bit too fond, as it is featured in almost all of my work. So, what better idea than to completely consume a model in metallic liquid, as if she has become too obsessed with a trend to a point where it has consumed her whole existence. It kind of acts as a message about how social media makes everyone follow certain trends and aesthetics to an extreme degree that it completely rules over their whole personality and life. So, I think without further ado, let's get into the creation of metallic consumption. Yeah, we'll just get right into the process now. I'll stop. Okay, and here we are, starting straight into Daz3D, creating the model. This model is actually a Genesis 8 model, so an earlier model, because as you'll see later on, it's for a certain reason. So I actually bought a couple pose packs on Daz3D because I think I've earned it, because posing in the models in Blender can be so finicky. So to just have the presets already makes life so much easier. But I didn't really change anything really about the model apart from adding the hair and making the pose, because she's not going to have makeup. She's, well, as I said earlier in the presentation, she's going to be covered in paint eventually, well, metallic liquid. So there was no need to play around too much. So here I just kind of fixed the pose a bit, because sometimes it can get a bit messed up during the importing process. So just adjusting the pose until I get it to how I like it, basically. Once again, change the total light paths, well, the transparent light paths, to 64 for the hair. Always remember if you are importing from Daz3D. So here I started a fluid animation, and I added a sphere, a domain, which was a cube, and of course the model, which would act as the effector. Now this took a while. I did a lot of playing around with, because fluid animations, they can, like, as you can see, it It's tricky. It was a lot of playing around and tweaking, but I had a lot of helpful resources online, which helped a lot. But it's weird because sometimes so the cube acts as the domain and the sphere acts as the inflow, so the fluid, and then obviously the model acts as the effector, which is the collision. But sometimes the animation just wouldn't work, or like I don't think the domain realised the sphere was the fluid. It was a lot of tweaking, but I managed to get it to something I like. It was a lot of playing around with the settings in the physics properties, and the baking would take hours, but I eventually got it to something I like. But as you can see, I keep doing it and doing it and doing it because I was just not pleased with how it was turning out. I will link down below some very helpful videos that are a lot more in depth with how to create fluid animation, because it's quite tricky to explain a fluid animation when it's sped up. I could slow it down, but what's done is done. It's not complicated. Once you understand how to make it works, and it works pretty well. And here, obviously I got it to how I liked, because before it was either too thick or like nothing was coming out. Really confusing. So I also closed the model's eyes because, as you can imagine, it would probably really hurt if there was like, I don't know, mercury going straight into your eyeballs. That would probably really hurt. So I let her close her eyes for this one. And here, I wanted the background to be completely black, but I also wanted it to be transparent so that I had the freedom to change the background colours in Photoshop if I wanted to. So I accidentally joined the hair to the model, which created this like weird blue effect around her head. And also you saw I had to remove some vertices from the hair. I don't know what happened, to be honest, and later on in Photoshop I had to edit a lot of the blue parts out. It's really irritating, but I got it doing. And so here I was setting up the actual camera for the render of the animation. Pretty simple stuff. The whole render didn't actually take that long, surprisingly. I think it's because there wasn't really a lot going on in the scene anyway. But here, just setting up the camera and the model and the light. Well, I'll do the lighting later. It's pretty self-explanatory and simple once you get the hang of it. It's not that hard. Here's setting up the lighting, really basic stuff, just like 4 area lights around the model. 1 on top, 2, 1 either side and 1 in front, because I wanted that light to be evenly distributed around the whole scene, so it was pretty clear. I played around with the lighting a lot as well, because I would go through the animation to make sure everything from top to bottom looked good and the reflections looked pretty good, yet still you could tell it was metallic. Also setting the samples up to only 2000. Didn't want to take yonks to bloody render, so yeah. So here is how I could have done it as an MP4, but like I said, I did it as a transparent, so I had the freedom. So I rendered it as PNGs, brought it into Premiere Pro, and set all the images to 0.001 seconds, so like 1 millisecond basically. And so you get a clear animation. Fun fact actually, I already unlisted the animation to this on YouTube before. It was unlisted and it got age restricted. I will show you the animation but in full, but I've blurred the boobas out. Don't know why it got age restricted because it was unlisted, but oh well, it is what it is. It's not even real boobs. If you want to see the full thing without blur, then follow me on Instagram. So here this was me unlisting it. And so as I said previously, it was for a magazine, so we had to create magazine spreads. And so I created a barcode on the spread, so when you scan it, it takes you to the actual video. And yeah, I just kind of did like a few stills from the animation and stuck it on some pages, and it looks good. But fun fact, I had to eventually change every single one of the page spread sizes, but you'll see that later. But yeah, here's the animation. Pretty simple stuff. It was pretty quick and I really like how it turned out. Gets the job done. It was really short, so that's why I did some reversing and forward. So here is the next part of the project, which is the after consumption. So this is when all her skin and hair and everything is completely silver. So what I did for the hair, it was a lot of trial and error. So to create the metallic look, as you see, I actually went to the shaders and found some like metal textures, and if you like shift double right click, it applies like a metallic texture to it basically. And also doing a pose again, but as you saw, her arms sticking through the floor, it's not right, so had to quickly sort that out. Well, before I did that, I went to the hair. This was a lot of trial and error too, because I wasn't entirely sure how to make it look silver, and then I finally figured out I just had to unplug the base colour and just keep the diffuse plugged in. I don't know why, I guess it makes sense, but yeah, so here I was just next doing the silver skin texture. If you just like pause on the video and just look at the bottom part underneath the SS red, that's all you need to know really. And also to change, I think it's the roughness, it's the second picture from the base color to sub something specular to nope some bump yeah, you can see, yeah. So here just making her whole skin metallic and silver. You'll see this outcome of the full silver look is my favorite, and I love how it came out so much. It's one of my favorites, I think, now. So here I actually started fixing the pose because it's a bit weird as she's going through the floor. She's phasing through the back rooms pretty much, and we don't want that. It needs to be somewhat realistic. And so I did just import a plane to kind of get it right, but also that plane comes in handy in a second, because she will be lying in a puddle of the leftover metallic paint. And the idea in this scene is that because it was based off a trend and how she's become too obsessed with metallics, she's almost savouring being absolutely consumed in metallic paint. So she's now reminiscing in a puddle of metallic paint, well, metallic liquid. She's savouring a fleeting moment sort of thing, if you get what I mean. It's an interesting idea, and it can mean anything to you, but I visually I really love it. So just keep fiddling around with the pose until I get it to something I like. And so here is actually creating the puddle. I did the exact same thing with the fluid animation previously, but this time instead of the model being the effector, I made the plane the effector, so the collision for the fluid. And I basically copied all the settings I did from the other one because I really liked the settings I did for that because it worked for me. This fluid animation was really simple, and also I didn't have to render the whole animation because it was just going to be a still puddle, which was nice and saved a lot of time. This is how it came out. I think it looks really cool, personally. So getting it right under center, and then you'll see in a second, well, first getting rid of the sphere shape from its sphere remains, and I went into the sculpting tool, and because as you can see it's a bit bubbly and goopy, so I just smoothed it out with the smooth tool in sculpting, and there's holes in the center which I didn't want, so I just simply added a plane underneath the holes and just gave it the exact same metallic material pretty much to hide the holes, and it worked, so that's great. So here, sorting out the composition again and the camera size. This was the page spread sides that I thought it was intentionally, but turns out the size was wrong. It was a mess, but I got it. I fixed it. So sorting out the lighting again. Did the exact same lighting setup pretty much with the metallic fluid animation, because I wanted the metal to look exactly the same, because obviously this is after that happened, so the lighting needed to be pretty accurate to previously. And I just love how the reflections are on her skin. I think it looks so beautiful. So that's pretty much that part done, and that's the rendering going. So here, taking it into Photoshop, and I did some really simple adjustments to it. I just added some brightness and curves to make it pop and give it a bit more contrast, pretty much. And you'll see in a second, there's like little white specks on her leg, like in between her legs, and I do patch that because it was bugging me. Yeah, there, you can see I was patching it up to make it look smoother. Looks clean, looks nice and crisp. I just really love how this one came out. And also there's another one after this one where she's in a different seating position, which you'll see next, which I really like as well. So that was that one done, pretty much. Just doing the finishing touches. So here is the next one, same exact skin and idea, but this time she's in a different pose because I wanted to do a different composition and I needed more images as well, so I thought it'd be just really cool if it was a different composition of almost looking down on her, because when I was thinking in mind, because it's for a magazine and their page spreads, this would be for double page spread, so I'll have this pose and there'll also be another pose that I'll do on the other page. This one, I think this pose in particularly is my favourite out of all of the ones I've done. I really love the composition and I love how it's almost like a bird's eye view. I think it's really cool. And I left her eyes open for this one. She's staring right into your soul. It's quite scary. But I made her eyes close a little bit so it wasn't so big because that was quite intense. But yeah, that's pretty much that one done as well. And as I said, there's another one, the exact same process again, just in a different pose. But yeah, this one's ultimately my favourite out of all of them. And at the end of this video, I will go through all of the final images and everything. And also a magazine mock-up I did too, which is pretty cool. But that will be at the end of the video. So here I wanted to show that I had to change the whole sizes of the page layout, which was so irritating. I created a title page as well. I didn't record this. This was just for something to put in my university research file for a title page. So I did another fluid animation. This was a while ago, well, like a week ago. And this was the title page for the editorial. And yeah, just fixing everything. I said there was another pose after the other seating pose, and I actually forgot to film that one, but it wouldn't have been that interesting anyway because it would be the exact same process as the other one. But yeah, that's that pretty much done. I think we'll get right into the final images so I can actually explain it a bit better too, because that was quite fast and it was quite self-explanatory. But let's get into the final outcome. So this is the laid down pose in all its glory. Really love how this one came out. I think it's really pretty, really simple, it's effective, and I really like how this one came out. And then here is the seating pose that you saw as well. Like I said, I think this one is my favorite out of all of them, but the one I didn't show you was this one, just a different composition and pose, a bit more suggestive. But yeah, it works. It's just to go with this one. But yeah, this one I adore so much. And also the lying down one, I think that one's really cool as well. So I also did a face close-up as well. This one on its own, it looks a bit weird, you would say, but as you saw in my visual presentation, the beauty papers, their front covers are pretty much almost always a close-up of a face with their logo in the center of it. So that's what I rendered this one for. So this is the front cover, just the logo center. So what I'm going to show you now is the actual spreads that I created for the magazine. Well, a fake editorial for a magazine is fake, but it's for a university project. So this is obviously the front cover, the title page, and the simulation page where the barcode is underneath my head. If I just turn this off, then you can scan it or not. Actually, it's cut off at the bottom as well. Well, you can see it on my Instagram page when I eventually post it. Really like this one. I think it would be so cool if you'll open it on a page and there's that one in the middle. Yeah. So this one I did as well. This one is not my favorite out of all of them, but I felt there needed to be a second one for the actual simulation, the consuming part. So that's why I did this one. And as I said earlier, her whole face was had blue parts on it, and I think it was from the hair because I joined it. Don't know why I joined the hair to the model, and once it was done I couldn't unjoin it. Yeah, it was a mess. So in Photoshop I actually had to go around every blue section to mask it, and it was a tedious process, but I got it done so it doesn't have any blue on it now. So that's that page, then the lay down page, and the final page. and I really like how it came out. And this is of course the magazine mock-up I just cover. So here's a clearer view without my face covering the whole thing. So this is the idea basically of what it would look like in a magazine. I really like how it turned out. I think it's very cohesive and looks really good. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the video. And it was an interesting one. It probably was a long one as well, but I hope you enjoyed the video despite how not very helpful it could have been. But I just hope it gave someone some inspiration to create their own work, maybe to try their hand at fluid animation, because it can be quite daunting at first. It sounds like it could be really hard, but it's actually really simple. But like I said, I will link down some really helpful resources and tutorials for fluid animations that I followed myself. That was really helpful. So yeah, don't be afraid when working in Blender. It's all about experimenting, having fun. You mess up a lot, it's fine. It's all about just being creative. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and remember to follow me on Instagram so you can see the full animation once I post it, and also all the other images I'll post from this project. But I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one when I next eventually post one. Okay, goodbye!